Right, so the first step into the server-side attacks is information gathering. Information gathering is very important because it will show us the operating system of the target, the installed programs or the running services on the target, the ports associated with these services. Now, from these installed services, we can try and get into the system. We can do this by trying the default passwords, and we've seen this before in the network penetration testing part, where the iPad had a SSH service installed, which basically give you full access to the computer if the person still uses the default password, which was Alpine. So we can do this with any other service, and we'll see another example here today. Another thing that we can do is there's a lot of people install services and misconfigure them. So we'll have another example of this. So sometimes a lot of these services are designed to give some remote person some access to that computer, but they obviously need to have some security implementations. People often misconfigure these services, so we can take advantage of these misconfigurations and gain access to these computers. Another problem with these services, some of them might even have backdoors, and we'll see an example of that. And a lot of them would have vulnerabilities such as remote buffer overflows or code execution vulnerabilities that allow us to again gain full access to that computer. Now, the simplest way on doing this is something that we've seen before, which is using ZenMap. So we use ZenMap using the IP. We get a list of all of these services and then Google maybe each one of them and see if they contain any vulnerabilities. Now, we've seen how we use ZenMap before, but I just want to convey the idea of anything is a computer, and we've seen before how the Metasploitable device, this device is actually a website. It has a web server running, so websites are nothing different than this. If you want to get an IP of a website, all you have to do is just do a ping. So for example, if we're targeting Facebook, so all we have to do is do ping facebook.com, and we'll get their IP right here. So we have Facebook's IP, and we'll be able to run ZenMap against it and get a list of all the running services on Facebook. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that because I'm not allowed to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run ZenMap against this Metasploitable device, which basically is a computer device, and that's what we're interested into testing. So again, I can't really stress this anymore. Anything is a computer, whether it's a website, a server, any online service, a phone, anything is a computer. So you can go about penetration, anything the same way. So I'm going to run ZenMap just the same way that we did before. So I'm going to go on my activities. I'm just going to look for ZenMap. And here's ZenMap. And I'm going to put the IP of my target of the Metasploitable device, which was 10.14.04. So remember, in the network penetration testing part, we used to put the base IP and put it over 24 to cover all the IPs around us in the network. In this case, you might be testing a remote IP. So for example, in the Facebook case, all you have to do is just put the Facebook target IP in there and test it. Now, that's granted that you have permission to do that. Now, I don't have permission, so I'm not going to do that. What I have permission to do is test my own device, which is installed on the same network as me. So that's why I'm putting that IP. But you can literally put any IP you want in there and test it. So I'm going to hit on scan. And this will give me a list of all the installed applications. Okay, so the scan is finished now. And we have a lot of open ports, a lot of services. What I advise you to do in this case now, if you want to do a simple test, is you literally go on ports, port by port, read what it is, and Google the name of the program. So for example, we have port 21 here. That's an FTP port. FTP is a service that it's installed to allow people to upload or download files from the remote server. So we can see usually FTP services use a username and a password, but you can see that this service has been misconfigured and it allows anonymous FTP login. So unlike the SSH that we used before in the network penetration testing, we used the default password. With this, you'll be able to log in without a password. So all you have to do is download an FTP client such as FileZilla, and you'll be able to connect using this IP address on port 21. Now I'm not gonna explain this because it's very simple. You literally download the application and connect to it. What else you can do is you can Google this. This is an FTP server. You can literally Google this and see if it has any issues, if it has any misconfigurations, if it has any known code execution exploits. So I know if you Google this now, this particular application has a backdoor installed with it. So it literally came with a backdoor when it was released. For now, I'd like to show you something simpler, just so that we make this shorter. So, as I said, you need to go in one by one, Google in the services, and check in if they have any misconfigurations or any exploits installed, or if any known exploits. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look on the 512. So let's assume we went on them one by one, we couldn't find anything, and we reached the 512 TCP port. So I'm going to copy this. This is the service that's running on this port. So literally, I don't know what's this. So I'm going to copy it, go on Google and Google it. Okay, so we're going to have a look on the first result that we got here. And we can see that this is a remote execution program. So that's very nice. That's very cool. So if we manage to log in with this, we'll be able to execute commands on the target computer. And it uses the RSH rlogin. That's a program that ships with Linux that allows you, similar to SSH in a way, that lets you execute remote commands on the target computer. So let's go back and see how we can connect to this. So this is all cool. So let's see the package, what comes in with this package. So, and you can see this is Ubuntu. So the target computer system was running on Ubuntu. If we go back, so it's running on Ubuntu here. And you can see that in here, it uses the RSH client service to connect. So this is the package that you need to install to connect to the service. So, and as you can see, it says client program for remote shell connection. So go back and let's install RSH client. So we usually, as we did before, when we need to install something, we do apt-get and we do install, and we'll write the name of the program that we want to install. So it's RSH. Now apt-get is going to install it for me and configure it. And once it's installed, we're going to use rlogin to log in, because remember the first page told us that it uses the rlogin program to facilitate login process. So I'm going to do rlogin. And again, I don't know how to use this app, so I'm going to do the help to see how to use it. And we can see that the format is rlogin. You put the options that you want. So what's important here is the username and the host, which is the target IP. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do rlogin. We're going to put the username as root. Again, we said root is the user with the most privileges on the system. And we'll put the target IP, which is 10.20. Now, as you can see, now we are logged into the Metasploitable machine here. And if I do ID to get my ID, you can see that I am root. If I get where I am, pwd, I'm in the root directory, I can list stuff. If I do a uname, that'll list the host name and the kernel that's running on the machine. And as you can see that I am in the Metasploitable machine with the root access. So this was a manual way, a basic way of gaining access to the target computer only by a misconfiguration of an installed service. So the rlogin service was not configured properly. All we had to do is just Google what came with that port, and we managed to find, or we managed to log in and gain full access to the target computer. Now, again, the key point here is you do a Zenmap scan, and then you go on each port that you find, you Google that port, and you'd be looking for misconfigurations, default passwords, if this target service came in with a backdoor, or code execution. Maybe it just wasn't programmed properly, or it had a flaw that can be used to gain access to that computer. Now we'll have examples of these things in future videos as well.